Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon for those who are listening on the internet. The idea of this panel came from our uncomfortable feeling when we wanted to build the Social Good Lab. You saw the 6 finalist initiatives, and there are several others of labs that are here present that are incredible. And our desire was to be able to create a true innovative environment. And we created, we inspired in several initiatives in Brazil and in the world. And we tried to find how we could really dare in this model, finding mentorship, cutting-edge methodology. Leo, when he brought this, he talked about MVP. MVP is a term we used a lot in lab, which is a concept within the lean startup. And yesterday, in the last panel, Reinhold is one of the facilitators of the Social Good Lab. He talked about creativity, and we apply a lot of creativity, how we can bring new mindsets, models, and encourage people to leave their comfort zone and design projects, centered, user-centered, and fast prototyping. And for us, it's an honor to have you here, President of Singularity University, GSBI, and Socialab, and all these incredible people. I hope that you really make the most of this conversation. I want them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about these examples of environment of innovation that can call accelerators, incubators, or labs. We don't mind which term you call it, but how you address how we can bring an environment for those who are starting startups or designing them, new projects which have a social objective, like Social Good Lab, use technology as a tool. So these are great examples, and I want them to share with you. So first, Emily.
Bom dia. Thank you very much for inviting me here in very beautiful Florianopolis. I'm really honored and very, very happy. So just to give you a little bit of an understanding what Singularity University is, I'll just give you some of an introduction of what we do, what our mission is, and what we're doing in terms of startups and accelerators. Singularity is very, very young. We were formed 6 years ago by 2 very forward-thinking persons. It's Wray and Peter Diamandis. So for us, we're based on two principles. Exponential technologies can catalyze or change the world. We are living in an exponential world right now, and we need to leverage all of this rapidly accelerating technology for innovation. So what are these? These are AI and robotics, biotechnology, nanotechnology. These are the technology that could actually propel us to an abundant future. For us, the second premise is that from scarcity, we can actually go into an abundant future. And it lies within all of our hands, not just from us in the US or in Silicon Valley. It lies in every entrepreneur's hands to actually create this future. So for Singularity University, we look at all of the global grand challenges, from poverty to food to education to security. All of these are global issues, but they're also local issues. So for us, our mission is really to educate, inspire, and empower entrepreneurs, social innovators, leaders, government officials to use technology and leverage it to solve all of these grand problems. So we don't have time to actually talk about all of the programs that we do at Singularity University, but there's 3 components to it. It's education, innovation, and community. In education, we have a lot of programs, from 10-week programs that would actually produce projects that would impact 1 billion people, to executive programs, to conferences, to innovation partnership programs for Fortune 500 companies. We also have a big community of alumni and ambassadors in 80 countries, 50 ambassadors from 50 countries, and trying to work on creating an ecosystem that we could actually help and network each other. But the thing that I wanted to emphasize today is the innovation part. So for SU, we actually what we call SU Labs. SU Labs is in two parts. One is a corporate membership program where Fortune 500s who can't actually innovate within their own companies and organizations have innovation teams, but they often become stifled. They're not set up to succeed because they're within their own system, and so they need a place to actually work and think out of the box. So we provide that facility for them, but at the same time, we actually also have a startup accelerator. These are startups and projects that come from our 10-week program or our executive program. And the difference between, I think, between our startup accelerator and some of the other accelerators, even in the Valley, is that there are a lot of startups that are working on the business development side and the technology. And there are also a lot of startups today that are also just working on the social good side. And I think the intersection between the two is where Singularity actually lies. And that is the uniqueness of the organization. So for us, if you look at the Startup Accelerator, you cannot be in one of our SU companies if you are not working on global grand challenges, if you're not using exponential technology, and if you're not scaling. So just some of the examples of the startup companies that are actually in our portfolio are, there's one startup that is actually trying to 3D print meat. There's one startup that has just launched the first 3D printer to the International Space Station. There's a startup that was working on like cancer tests, multiple cancer tests using just one drop of blood. There's a lot of these startups are actually game changers. We think of bold endeavors, and that's kind of like what the uniqueness of the accelerator is. So here's some of the things that we do. Just like a lot of other startups, we do mentorships, we access to capital, we have educational programs. We also have entrepreneur exchanges from different countries that could come to our facility, and then the startups from our portfolio can also go and visit other places where they can beta test their ideas and their projects. But I think the strength of SU really is in the network. We have a very unique network of people from governments to corporations to academia that actually co-create this innovation system. So the vision of SU really for the future is to create this innovation system around the world that can be replicated in any country. And we want everybody to be part of it because we are one world that can actually change the future. And I think it's not just us that can change the future, it's you that can change the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. And Michael.
So, Santa Clara University, it looks nice, doesn't it, in Northern California. So we are neighbors of Google, Facebook, Apple. As I drive to the university, I'm quite likely to see the car next to me has no driver. And it's a Google car, no hands on the wheel. Of course, even 2 years ago, people wouldn't have their hands on the wheel. They'd have a cell phone in one hand and coffee in the other, but at least Google makes it a little safer these days. So I'm going to talk to you very quickly about some of the programs that we're running. A global social benefit incubator set of programs, what we call our Frugal Innovation Lab, and some work we're doing on finance. So in the last 12 years or so, we've had over 200 people, entrepreneurs, have come through the program. We will calculate that their work has impacted well over 100 million people. Money runs this business. As I think it was Thomas said yesterday, you can't do good in the world unless you have money. So these companies have raised about 97 million. We are not in the business of actually funding people, but we do help people get their acts together to raise finance. Over 90% of those companies are still in business, and that's really saying something. And 40% of them are actually scaling. That is way, way better than most of the activities in Silicon Valley. They mostly fail in 2 or 3 years. So if you look at the various stages of an enterprise, we have programs which work through all 3 of those. I'm going to really talk, we have an online program, but the one I'm going to spend a little time on, because we're a little short of time, is the Global Social Benefit Accelerator program, which is really our sort of signature program. A key thing about all of these programs is mentorship, and I think that's probably our differentiation. These are some of the people who came last year. I should actually go back and say that out of our 200 odd entrepreneurs, only 2 so far have come from Brazil. They're 2 very successful companies, but we really would like to see more people from Brazil. So I encourage you to get to know a little bit more about us and learn. As I say, the secret sauce, we would call it, is the mentors. If you look at that good-looking group down at the bottom. These are all Silicon Valley, very experienced executives. Some of them have started up 2 or 3 very, very successful companies, so they really know about small companies and taking them up to scale. Each company has 2 mentors working with it, and the program starts in about April time every year, and we would work remotely with Skype and email, and in August they actually come into the campus and spend a couple of weeks with us in a very, very intensive program. And we continue onwards. I'm still working with my Indian company on operational reviews, even now continuing. An online program, the Accelerator is really for companies which are at reasonably late stage. They're really scaling up, and we've introduced an online program which has the same general format. And in many cases, people go from the online program and go on to the Accelerator later. And a boost program, which is, we're just starting small individual countries. Talk a little very briefly about finance. Companies run on money, and it is a major problem to raise capital for social ventures. The crowdfunding is helping a lot at the seed stage, but when you come to the critical stage of scaling up, when you're looking for maybe $1 million or $5 million, it's very, very difficult. The money is there, but it's very difficult to actually access it. And so we have some programs. John Kohler, my colleague, is working very actively to link social capital companies with entrepreneurs to help them scale. And I'll talk briefly about the Frugal Innovation Lab. This is linked to the engineering department, and it's working on software and hardware in partnership with social entrepreneurs. I would say the innovating technology in the world at the moment for social enterprises is the cell phone. The cell phone is allowing things to happen that were impossible 5 or 10 years ago. So a lot of the applications are linking cell phones with other mechanical devices to help entrepreneurs. I think I'm just going to wrap up by saying, please get in touch with me or through the organization if you're interested to know more about those programs. We're really looking for some Brazilian participants to come and join us. Thank you.
Obrigada, Michael. Agora eu vou passar a palavra para o Julián, de Chile.
Bueno, good match between Brazil and Chile in the World Cup, no? was good. But I suffered. I will not do my presentation after you guys. You say that 100 million people impact, so I cannot deal with that. But let me tell you what we are doing. If I was a rich man, I will put money in each early stage idea that you have now. But I'm not millionaire, so we have a money problem. And yeah, I believe a lot in technology. I believe a lot in technology, in business, as a way to create social solutions, impact, and business can scale those ideas, those solutions, and technology probably can even scale even more. But the problem is that I don't have the money, and the ideas. So we create an open innovation platform, really huge. We have like 300,000 users on the internet, and we make open calls. Like, there is anyone who can solve the water problem in, I don't know, Indonesia or whatever, with a new technology, with a new revolutionary business model, blah, blah, blah. And we have many applications, like many, like 1,000, 10,000, 15,000. And that's the interesting part for two things, because you have many ideas, so you can recruit the best ones, but at the same time, probably Coke will be interested in being sponsor of this contest, because it's many people around. So when we have 10,000 applications, we have at least 100,000 views, votes, and at least 1 million views. So basically, we bring the money from the TV or radio to the internet, and using that money to give seed capital for social entrepreneurs, and the best of 10,000. So, we're an incubator, we're a social innovation platform, but I think the difference here is that we create a real business model to use the power of marketing to put it in social impact through entrepreneurs. So we did support around 100 entrepreneurs, at least in Chile. They are impacting 500,000 people, which is enough for Chile, but they're growing exponentially. We are expecting that 2 million people will be impacted in Chile. We have offices also in Bogota, in Buenos Aires, we are going to Mexico and Uruguay, and we was the innovation center of Teto. We are sons of Teto. So that's it, and I don't know, let's speak about I don't know what. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to ask one question to all of you, which is what have been your lessons learned supporting entrepreneurs during this startup phase that you could share here with many entrepreneurs that are listening to us online and here in the theater. Lessons learned around success factors, but also failure, because we know failure is very important for innovation. Who would like to start?
Well, I'll start with one. I think one of our success factors, I'm actually looking at him right now. So Julián Ugarte is one of our alumni from GSBI 10, our 10-week program. And he finished the program and then went back home and founded Socialab. So he's very humble, but actually Socialab is now scaled to 4 countries. He's also founded the Innovation Festival in Chile, which we just came back from, and which actually had like 30,000 people attend. 60,000 people attend. And he's now scaling it also to Argentina and hopefully in Brazil next year. And he's also opened up the Ideas Factory, also in Chile. So for me, Julián is one of, I think for us, quintessential example of a successful entrepreneur. And for us at Singularity University, I think a round of applause for Julián. So for us, I think birthing entrepreneurs is something that I think Singularity University is doing, I think, very well. And the reason for that is we actually are not afraid of big, bold ideas. If you want to reach the moon, actually shoot for Mars and you'll end up in the moon. So I think we need to be able to actually make sure that we dream big, but then at the same time, we actually provide the tools and skills for those entrepreneurs to actually flourish. So at Singularity University, we have several programs that we do to do this, and the Accelerator is one of them. We are actually a very, very young organization. As I mentioned, the Accelerator is only 2 years old. And at the same time, all of the startup companies that are coming in are coming from also some of, especially the 10-week program. And as a difference between success factor and also the failure is that we are also still trying to figure out how do you bridge the gap between an idea and a project to actually implementation and execution. And that is not an easy, that's not an easy problem. In the Accelerator, we have mentors, we have the strength of the SU community, but at the same time, the strength of the team is very, very important. You need to make sure that your founders, the team that you would want to be working with for a long period of time is in the same vision as you are, so that during the times of the highs and lows, you can actually weather that. And that's something that we're still basically working on it right now. Most of the teams that come to us come from different countries as well. So that's another thing that play out. In terms of teams, if you come from multiple different backgrounds and cities, it's very, very hard to actually coalesce. So that's another thing to make sure that you have the tools and the mentorship to pass through that.
Great. Before I move to Van, because Van, that was my English translation. I'm gonna give you the time to answer as well.
Well, I think something we've learned in the 12 years or so of working with a lot of mentors is that we shouldn't jump very, very quickly to conclusions about this is the problem, this is how we're going to solve it. It's very much a Silicon Valley culture. Everything has to happen very, very fast. Quick decisions, quick analysis, quick implementation. Part of the process also is that if you fail, you quickly realize you failed and you move on. But for most social enterprises, they are very, very, very complex. And we've learned to do a lot of listening and a lot of questioning and take a lot of time. And I think actually, if you look at the social enterprises themselves, a lot of reasons for failure is that people haven't really analyzed the needs of the beneficiaries. It's easy to look at a problem and say, oh, okay, I can see the problem, I analyze it, I can see how to solve it with some technology and some discipline and so on. And you may find some cultural factors. I'll give you a little anecdote about water is a major problem, obviously, in many parts of the world. And women, and unfortunately it's usually women, have to spend a lot of time walking to a pump or to a tap. I've seen them in Delhi. You get standing around a tap with plastic buckets. The water that comes out of it looks rather like the color of good Brazilian coffee, but that takes them 1 or 2 hours a day. So why not set up a system which delivers absolutely pure water to their doorstep every day and leaves it there for a very, very low cost? Sounds like a no-brainer. They didn't like it. They didn't take it. They wouldn't touch it. So was that because they didn't trust it? They didn't trust the quality? Maybe. But after a lot of really careful discussion, they discovered that walk to the well and the hour or so standing around was actually their social time of the day. And any solution, a nice technical solution to the problem that didn't take into account the social factors around it wasn't working. So we've learned to do a lot of listening, and I think as you're working with your beneficiaries, I was impressed by the solutions. I think you've done a lot of listening to your beneficiaries, and sounds like you've got some good solutions.
Julián.
Yeah, something different. I think about the personality of the entrepreneur and why he's doing what he's doing. For me, probably you will have more success if you want to solve one problem and you are in love of that, not about your idea or about other thing. For example, if my daughter is dying, like a kid dies every 80 seconds in Africa because they don't have water, if my daughter is over there, I will take an airplane and I will go. And I cannot say, I don't have money. No, 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 no. I will go. I will drive the plane if I need. I don't know why we don't do it with the other kids, why we don't feel empathy, but that's another thing. But I will do it. Or Dalai Lama will not, no, Gandhi will not say, hey, I don't have money to make my history. Or Jimi Hendrix will not say, my mom don't give me a guitar. Just play guitar. Just Dalai Lama or Gandhi, do your thing. So when the entrepreneurs are complaining like, the venture capital don't give me money, just go, solve the problem. Then change your idea, but do it. Like that attitude, I think it's really important. And in entrepreneurship, many times we put the guilt in others, like the venture capital, the angel, the government. No, just do it. Go. Rob a bank. That's rob a bank. Let's rob a bank.
I'd like Vanessa now to ask the questions from Twitter. Okay. The first question is from Shoot the Ship to Julián. Julián, what is the relationship between the award and for the winning ideas for the challenges that are launched on the platform? Could you repeat the question, please? What is the relationship of award for the challenges?
Okay, 15,000 ideas, 111 supported with around, I would say, $30,000 each. Around, yeah, a little less actually, because we invest like $2.4 million in all. 20 of that works, but seriously, 5 are like really working, and they have like payback and everything, and they're impacting 500,000 people. So yeah, those are the numbers, and for me it's really good. And if it's just one, you know what is the issue? When you are working in poverty, you will not spend, if you are government or a traditional guy, $1 in other thing than the poor guy, you know? So, or if you put that in an ONG, like Teto, probably they will transform that dollar in $2. But you will not invest in risk. Like, probably we can find a new way to, we can do that. And for me, if 3 of them are working and are growing and they are sustainable in the time and they are bringing water, yeah, for me, 3 of 100, it's amazing. What's the question? No?
And can I, maybe just to help answer better the question, do you have like a criteria for this selection?
Yeah, of course. One is the problem, if it's a deep problem of poverty or if it's a light problem. How many people had that problem in similar conditions? If the idea is different, is radical or disruptive, because for do the same, let's put the money in the others. The team, the vision of the creator, like if they really want to solve the problem, or if he or she is just seeking money, or and if they have a vision to scale like in at least 1 million people. That's all.
There is another question here for Julián. I'm going to speak in Portuguese slowly. We are twin countries, right? So if you can talk about the Innovation Festival, how does it work?
Basically, we speak a lot about social innovation, but in, at least in Chile or in Argentina, we're always the same guys speaking the same thing, so we should not convince each other because we're convinced. So the question is how we can go to other places, to young people, and show this, and probably they can be inspired, and they can create a new startup, or they can work in a company who can have social benefit. So basically, we mix rock bands, like really good ones in Latin America, and the people come to see rock, But also, in the middle of each presentation, we have guys like Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, or Iru Levin, the founder of Waze, or Emeline from Singularity, or, I don't know, Paat-Dahsltron, and guys like us, which are little rock stars, but we will be super rock stars. And then we try to make it more cool, more sexy, more happiness, and yeah. As Noni says, one of the creators of the feast, change the world must to be fun. Because if it's not fun, who will do it? So yeah, that's the feast.
Now I'm going to make a question which is connected to one of them from the Twitter, which is in English. I think I'm going to make two questions in one, which is about scale. We have been talking a lot during our own lab program how the technology is very scalable. So how can we use technology to really make scalable solutions and get and achieve even more people and solve the problem, help solve the problem. So my question to you, and then I'm going to start with Emeline, is what is the difference between a startup that is already developing a model that is scalable between that is not? Or why some scale very fast and some not? So we can learn more about how to develop scalable solutions.
So first of all, I think Singularity University is based on actually tackling the biggest problems. And so it's inherent that it has to be scalable, or else we won't really even be dealing with them. And so for us, the scaling factor needs to already be like incorporated like from the very beginning of like either the mission of that startup when it first starts. But so I think one of the things that is really needed is to have like pure, not prescriptive, but from the very start you need to have guidelines already of how you think or what your strategy is to scale. But then to make sure that you leave enough like fudge factor and leeway that if you're scaling, for example, in different countries, you can't create a cookie cutter kind of model and think that that model will scale like in Chile or in Brazil or in Argentina, because every single local community, every single country has its own culture, and that needs to be factored into the way that you're doing things. And then the other thing as well is like you need to start with very good partners from the very beginning, especially partners that also have a network that can even scale it even faster. So I think those are things that are components of scalability that should be already included when you first start.
Great. Michael, I think you would like to answer as well, right?
Yes, the question of scaling is an interesting one. The world problems can divide up into some very clear ones. Water, clean water is fundamental. Clean water or dirty water leads to disease. Diarrhea is the biggest problem. So you can say certain problems are universal. And a lot of the technologies are very well understood. But people keep reinventing the wheel. They keep reinventing cook stoves. They keep reinventing solar power systems. And why have the world's problems not been solved already? You cannot apply a cookie cutter problem. Systems that work in one place do not work in another one because there are cultural differences. An interesting example is mobile money. I talked about the mobile phone and it's transforming the world. And the ability to move money around. It started in Kenya with M-Pesa. So something like 70% of the population in Kenya have a mobile phone and can move money around. So Tanzania is right next door. It seemed a no-brainer that you could just take the system and move it to Tanzania. And it didn't work because the cultural factors in that country are very, very different. So to me, the question, the experience I've seen of scaling is it's being a lot of attention to detail and really watching, what do the beneficiaries need at every stage? What are the cultural differences between even one region, say in Brazil, from the north to the south? I'm sure there are major differences. And partnerships, making sure right at the beginning that you have some sources of money and that you're working with some partners who are going to stay with you for the course. Your missions are aligned and they are willing to work with you and fund you as you go along. Most people just spend 50-60% of their time looking for money and run out of the ability to do good.
Great. Would you like to add something, Julián? Yeah?
Just something different. Yeah, it's difficult to scale up, and you have different kind of projects. For example, you have one more analog, like water issues, when you need a structure of delivery, like distribution channel. It's not easy. It's atoms. Then you have internet, which is really like it's a super freeway at light velocity who can deliver in record time to, I don't know, 1 billion users, or I don't know, you can create Instagram in 10 months and you can sell it in 1 billion because it's a new freeway. So for the first one, it's really difficult, and you must know the culture and all type of business, like Coke. Then internet and blah blah are others, but WhatsApp disruption before. And what I feel really incredible about Singularity is internet was a disruption years ago, but there's coming some new disruptions. For example, biotechnology. Imagine if you, in the future, I don't know when you can say that, but you can design a seed in the next 50 years, I don't know, and you can put it in the field in, I don't know, in Africa, and it's a bamboo field, and the bamboo goes to the river, like really deep, put the water outside, then you design the structure of the bamboo to create a house, and then the house can be illuminated by Luciérnaga DNA, I don't know. That's disruptive, really disruptive. And there is many disruption who will come, and I think it's, for social innovation, it's important to be attending what is going on, because we will have tools that we never had before. And I think that will be the real scale of social innovation if we have consciousness. So in the end of the day, the way to scale social innovation is be more conscious, have more consciousness. That's the name?
Be aware of...
Yeah, be aware, empathize. Like, we have enough money and water for everyone, but there is people without water. Why? It's not about the delivery or distribution channel. It's because we don't care. So if we care, social impact will scale.
Great. We are finishing the time, but I would like Julián to answer one question from the Twitter. It's about scaling the labs. So it's a different kind of scale, and you did. Socialab is in Colombia, Buenos Aires. What is important, and how you do that?
Yeah, we scale it really bad. We are trying to scale it good, and actually we are now thinking how to make it. I really believe in a shortcut way to do it. It's not my lab, Socialab. It's a way to find money from here to put it in social entrepreneurs with a way to scale. And I think that's the mission. The mission is not to have Socialab bigger. The mission is to have more incubators with the same mission, like create social impact. And I think that the scale model that actually we are thinking and discussing, it's put it outside all the methodology in a more free way, and there is people more smart than us that can make it in different places. So yeah, for me the way to scale incubators or labs is put out the information, the business model, and do the business model in your own country.